Hello, 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 my fellow burnt out besties. Welcome to Sass and Small Talk. I'm your host, Deb Bellino of Sass and Smalls, coming to you from the creative hub of all creative hubs, the glorious and artistic space of House of Owl, located in the beautiful core of our city, Victoria, BC. I would like to take this opportunity to humbly acknowledge the Esquimalt, Songhees, and Wasanic nations, past and present, on whose traditional territories of Algonquin-speaking people we learn, we live, and we work. The guests that I've invited to participate in this series offer an abundance of knowledge and insight and want nothing more than to help us, yes, us, get that sass back. I need my sass back. Oh, you too? Well, if you want that chaos to be a thing of the past and you're ready to get back some of that sass, I got you. Hey, I'm Deb, host of Sass and Small Talk, reclaiming the joy of parenthood beyond burnout. As a mom of two smallies, juggling all the things from caregiving for elderly parents as an active member of the sandwich generation, homeschooling, while navigating special needs. With my own neurospicy brain, I'm no stranger to caregiver and parenting burnout. Through this lived experience, I've met some of the most amazing local parents and experts within my own community of Victoria, BC. They'll share real stories of isolation, loss of self, and burnout, and how they found renewed purpose, all while embracing the chaos that is our lives. So, join us here at House of Owl. Take a seat, grab your poison, and let's talk. Darling, I need my sass back. Today's guest truly understands burnout in all its forms. She's lived it, she's fought through it, and she's come out the other side with wisdom we can all learn from. I know this on a very, very personal level. Meet my dear friend, Kay Judas. She is an ASD, ADHD mama of 4 high-needs children. ASD being autistic spectrum disorder. The Judas family is one of the many military families here on the island, and I'm certain much of the community has seen Kay in action, participating and often leading military spouse groups and events. If you haven't guessed it already, she is a community builder, an advocate, and the very reason why I have her here on the pod today. She's a spiritual counselor, a life coach, basically a powerhouse, and the founder of Sacred Advantage, where she offers such counseling and spiritual support. Today, she'll share about a very specific and personal experience of burnout. Her advocacy stems from her own struggle with autistic burnout. She focuses on understanding the needs of those on the spectrum, particularly individuals with a PDA profile, that being pathological demand avoidance, and we'll dig more into that today. And lastly, Kay emphasizes the importance of building community and finding your village, personal support teams to lean on during the hard times, and especially your medical support team, and advocating for yourself by building your team. And there is a fun fact. She is, in fact, an import to our beautiful city of Victoria. And not only Victoria, but to Canada. She is an American, a girl born and raised in the U.S., where she was, I still consider to be the case now, she was a professional singer. So maybe she'll do a little ditty for us today on the episode. My burnt out besties, let's welcome my dear, dear, dear friend and the woman who can make anyone feel seen, Kay Judas. Kay.
Hello. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh, it's all you, girl.
It wasn't, because I was completely blank.
No, a lot of it too was like just knowing you on a personal level. Like, this is all the stuff. I ask my guests to give me a little something about themselves. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know everything. But I added to it. She gave me the most, just the Cole's Note version of her. It's like 5 bullet points. I'm like, dude, there's so much more to you, girl. And I didn't even have to dig deep. It was 2 seconds. I was like, she does this, this, this. And she does this for others. A lot of othering. You do a lot of othering. So I know, like, we spend hours and hours kind of talking about our lived experience of everything,
We're
right?
supposed to be body doubling. Yes.
Yes. We're body doubles. We sometimes don't talk and sometimes we do talk. And the
Mhm.
talking always consists of so much exchange stories of burnout and stress. And so we go on this app called Marco Polo, and there is no end to it. You can actually, there's no limit. That's dangerous for women with ADHD, right?
Oh, yeah.
We could go on and on forever, which we do. I go more than you, obviously.
I get a daily Deb podcast.
She does.
I
She
do.
gets her own little personal podcast, little plug for Marco Polo. Anyhow, so let's dive right in because I
Okay.
know that we can go on for hours. So
Yep.
let's do some stuff. Let's talk about little K, cute little K, because I
Yes.
didn't really know little K
No.
at all.
Mhm.
Let's talk about kind of where you're from. Did you have a big family? Like, what's the story behind you being a community builder? Was it because you were part of a big community or because you didn't have a community? Tell me a little bit about little K.
I was born and raised in Iowa,
Mhm.
in we call it the boondocks, on the Mississippi, in the Mississippi. It flooded 3 to 4 times a year,
Yes.
rowboating up to the bus stop. Yeah.
Like in the movies.
Yeah, it's true. And people are like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah,
You did.
Yeah, I did. But my mother was 16 when she had me.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up with my mom and
Yeah.
her sister, and not a lot of kids. My little sister didn't come along until I was 5 years old.
Okay.
So being where we were, there were no other kids. It was adults.
So you grew up as an
And
adult.
I grew up
Yeah.
super fast.
Yeah.
I mean, not only with trauma, but just maturity of having to have conversations with only adults.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Totally.
But one thing that makes me do community now so much and why I need it so much,
Mm.
I was raised in the church.
Okay.
And we're talking country church, which means everybody knew everybody. Everybody was in everybody's business. We were there not just on Sunday mornings. It was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday
goodness.
nights, as many
You lived in the
days.
church.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
When I
gosh,
was
okay.
16 and had a car, I had a key to the church.
Wow.
Because I'd go there and sing and start, because
For a
I was,
teen, that's pretty
well, I started
wild.
ministry when I was 13.
Oh, my goodness. I can't
And I was
imagine
leading
that.
worship by 16.
Wow.
So it was my escape as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But I always thought I was kind of flawed as an adult because I'm like, I need more friends. I need more than just my husband. I need a group of people around me.
Oh.
And it took me up until, I'm going to say last month, to actually realize that it was because I grew up in church where we were all together all the time.
That's the community you felt safe in? Or you're saying you needed to explore outside of that community?
It wasn't that I was always safe, but I always had people around me.
Okay.
Like my mom and her best friends would have Bible study, and me and the kids would be all together
There's
for
always someone around.
hours a day. There was always someone there.
That makes sense.
So as an adult, I've grown up and said, I need friends, but in a different kind of way.
Okay.
I'm not the kind of person who I want to go out all the time.
Right.
I am the kind of person who's like, oh, you want to come over to my house and we just eat and let our kids be
And just
crazy?
snuggle, let the kids
Yeah. Having a rainy day.
Yeah.
I mean, I remembered when COVID started to end and we were sending kids back, there were days that were really emotional. And some of my neighbors were like, I don't feel like sending my kids back to school today. And I'm like, I'm not either. So come over and we'll just make a whole bunch of dumplings and taco pizza and we'll all eat together and all of our kids will be together. And that's what we did.
I can vouch for that because she's constantly saying, just come over. I'll leave the door open. Come over.
Yeah,
you
even
know,
if I'm
and
not
you're
there.
just like, yeah, even if I'm not there.
Come over.
Okay, we won't say the address because you want people to know it. You leave your door open. No, you actually don't. But
No,
you,
we got a
you
new
have
lock
it.
now.
Yes,
I can
good.
give you the code too.
That's the kind of person you are.
Yep.
Like when you find the people you trust, your people, you really, truly take it to the next level of,
Yes.
trusting, and you open your life and your home to them. So you've always been that person, trusting people in your home, trusting people in your lives, in your life and your family's lives. But you also like building, in the grand scheme of things, a bigger community as well. You advocate for bringing people together. That's just your thing. Military spouse group.
Support. That's what it is. I mean,
Okay.
I have a lot of people who know me. Not everybody is my support system.
Okay.
I'm a lot of other people's support system, which is
You really are.
which is what causes a lot of burnout.
Mhm.
But
we'll talk about that.
the reason why I do the things that I do, especially within the military community,
Mm-hmm.
is so that people can meet other people to create their support systems.
Right. Right.
I can't be it for everybody. And people cannot do it alone as much as they think that they can. You cannot. You need
cannot.
people. And yes, you can find support behind a screen.
The
You
famous
can.
TikTok, yes.
Yes, you can. But to be honest, when you are sick
Yeah.
or when you are so depressed that you can't get out of bed,
Mm.
having someone in real life that can meet you where you are
Mm-hmm.
and can actually help you, even if you're fighting it,
Yeah.
that's what we need.
She's kind of talking to me because this has been a big thing. It's very hard for me to, well, it was in the past very hard for me to accept help, to accept the community, because that's something I'm just kind of working on. It's kind of a work in progress. But that goes back to my childhood too. It's like you don't ask for help. You do as much as you can on your own or with your immediate family, and go from there, because, and it wasn't specifically people saying, it was just the culture back then. Like, it was just how I grew up and what I knew. It's like, we just do what we do on our own. And there's a lot of the hush hush and shame, and don't tell people what your true problems are, because, not really that I was untrusting, although that is part of it, right?
We all have that.
Yeah, we all have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But it's not about me today. We're going to talk about you, because I want to know, from this community building, I mean, I think that's one of the things that help you through your burnout and the times when you need it and when you have the overwhelm. But let's talk about your ADHD, autism, like, diagnosis. Did you always know that you were different as
Yes.
little K?
I did. In fact, I just had this conversation with my mom last night, because
Okay.
my mom, for the first time, goes, I think I might be autistic. And I'm like, you think?
That's usually what happens, right? The child gets diagnosed, and then the
Right.
parent.
And that's how I learned.
that's how you
from me,
learned.
because my second son was diagnosed, and I kept on blaming my husband, saying, he
Aw.
must have got it from his dad. And finally one day my husband's like, do you ever realize that you and him think a lot alike? I'm like, no, I think you're crazy. No.
Yeah.
But I was telling my mom that I always knew I was different,
Mm-hmm.
but without that label, without knowing,
Yeah.
I grew up thinking that it was a character flaw,
Oh,
that something was
yes.
very wrong with me, because I thought in black and white.
Yeah.
I didn't like to do eye contact, and my mother would be saying to me, you need to look at people in the eye because you make them feel terrible. You're acting like a snob, all of these things. And then I went to the opposite of that, of just
You're,
staring
like,
at
staring.
people. And people are like, man, you're just looking deep down into my
My
soul.
You
Like,
should be a spiritual counselor.
right. And I'm like, it's because I don't know when to look away. And it was funny,
Oh.
because telling my mom that last night, she goes, and here, I've struggled with that my whole entire life. And I was telling you, and she's apologizing to me profusely.
I can feel your mom's guilt there. I
Yeah,
can.
because she didn't know. None of us
She didn't
knew.
know,
And my
yeah.
family, there's a lot of us
Yeah.
on the spectrum in my family,
Yeah. Yeah.
not diagnosed,
Yeah.
because that wasn't something that they looked at. That it wasn't something that they looked for.
Yeah.
Now, my sister, also autistic and ADHD, but not knowing it, was a handful.
Mm.
And being the oldest, growing up with just adults, I made myself not a handful.
Oh, so you really masked.
So
You
I
really
learned how
held
to
it in.
mask very,
It's very exhausting.
very quick in life. And with PDA profile, especially in women, that gets so integrated into our personality that we don't know what's masking and what's not masking without a lot of work.
Let's talk about PDA really quick,
Mhm.
just since you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Pathological demand avoidance.
Yes.
Now, in males, it's going to come off looking like ODD.
Mm.
That they have this behavioral issue, that they're just rebellious.
Yeah,
And
they're too much,
yes. And it's often misdiagnosed
and they don't
For-
listen, and they
for
yeah.
males. And I'm going to say Canada is really bad at that.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the US, they're more open to different profiles. Canada is not.
Yeah.
And
We're quite behind on that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember bumping into the PDA support group on Facebook, and I've constantly been like, okay, what are we struggling with here at home? And when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what it is. But it was in the UK.
Mhm.
It wasn't here yet when I
Yeah.
first discovered that. I think that was like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So this is really new here.
Yes. And with women, we display
Ugh.
it differently.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
it's we've learned how to take our bodies
Mm.
and avoid those demands. So we've learned how to look at people in the eye.
Mhm.
We've learned how to ignore a lot of those things
Yeah.
that would typically be autistic.
Yep.
But we also have a high sense of justice
Mhm.
and need everything to be fair.
Yeah.
And we need to know that we are not lower than other people, and we'll fight for that.
Yeah.
So that's where our rebellious comes in. You know,
We're a rebel to ourselves, to our own
yes.
needs.
But other people see that because,
Yeah.
you know, you're questioning why things are the way they are.
Mhm.
But it's not so severe that it's getting the attention.
That's the issue.
Yes.
But the struggle is severe.
Oh, yeah.
The struggle inside.
When I realized that I had
Hmm.
PDA, I realized, oh, so that is why I don't eat when I should eat.
Mhm.
Oh, that's why when I have to go to the bathroom, I ignore it and tell my body, you can't tell me how to live until I'm like doing a little kid potty dance right in front of the toilet because I've held it because those demands on my own body. I'm like, nope, you don't
I'm
get to
going to
tell me.
ignore the demand, which is why they talk about whenever you hear the word low demand parenting, let's say,
Mhm.
it's about, and a lot of people who have PDA profile kids, they kick it into the whole low demand parenting kind of
Mhm.
style to save some of that energy, to save some of that, resistance.
Yeah.
So taking the demands, almost kind of either packaging it a different way, approaching it a different
Yep.
way, or taking the demand away at all. So
Yes.
when you're saying PDA, the demands within ourselves,
Yeah.
we're just avoiding the true physical, sometimes like physical demands.
Sleep.
Yes, I know the sleep
Sleep.
demand avoidance of that.
It is. Our body is
Yeah.
saying, you need this. You
Yeah.
need to do this. And
Yeah.
we're going, you don't get to tell me
Gosh.
how to live.
I never think of that too. You're right. Internal PDA. Oh,
Yes.
that's a new one. I'm gonna write that down.
It's
I never heard of that one.
It's the first one that we do. People think that
Yeah.
we're, rebellious or, I mean, even I have a child with PDA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the first thing that we are noticing is how he's behaving towards us
Mhm.
and rebellious and not listening. But the truth of it is the first person that he's not listening to is himself, his own body.
So how would you support something like that? Because we know how to support externally
Mhm.
someone who is kind of displaying the PDA kind of symptoms. How would you inspire them to do what they need to do and listen to those demands?
So my therapist,
Okay.
because I have weekly sessions with my therapist,
Love it.
she has a term called turning your words into gold. And I know it's like a theory. And the person who hates manipulation and lying in me actually hates this, but I see the beauty in it.
Okay.
It is where you are literally turning your demands
Okay.
into something that they're making a choice of.
So tricking your own, like tricking the system, but internally.
Yes.
I think that's fine, especially if you make it fun, right?
Well, and you're doing it with your children. Like
Yeah.
you've got to make it seem like it's a choice.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And I know, like, okay, one of my own personal demand things that I've been learning to kind of do that to myself and it's been very recent, is I have, executive dysfunction issues. So making decisions on what to do. And I have to-do lists galore. Right now, I have 60 things on my to-do list.
I almost want to I want to challenge that a little bit. I kind of feel like in that regard, I don't think you have the executive functioning dysfunction because you're great at your lists. You're great at checking things off, aren't you? Or
I am terrible.
Are you just a great
So-
masker?
I'm an amazing masker. I'm a great actress, man. So I use the Spin It app, and I
Yes.
put all of those numbers in, and I
love
handwrite
that.
all of them, and then I spin it. But see, what I was doing was I was putting it on my daily task,
Okay.
and if that number came up, I would keep it there until I did it.
You really made it fun.
But no, I didn't, because what happened is if I didn't do that task,
Okay.
which is inevitable,
Okay.
the guilt and the shame that would
Oh.
come with that,
Okay.
that would make me go, I'm never going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So what I had to talk to my therapist about was, at the end of the day, if that task did not get done, it did not go on the next day's list.
Oh.
I just chose another one.
We hear the opposite. Put it in the next day.
Yeah, but no, because once you're looking at it, it's now becoming a complete demand, and you're feeling guilty that you didn't do it the day before.
Take the demand away.
Yes.
Because it's becoming a demand.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Now, there are tasks, of course, that you have to get done. And the ADHD part of me is thrives on the chaos of it. It has now a due date, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes those tasks have been on there long enough that it gets to that point. And then it's it's a totally different monster.
Right.
But if I have something that I need to do that's not a life or death situation, it's not a thing that has to be done in a certain amount of time. Maybe it's a task that I want to redecorate. I'm redecorating my house room by room right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't do it that day, I take it off and then I respin and see what else comes up. Because if I keep on looking at it, I just feel guilt and shame that I didn't do it. And then I'm like, I don't want to do it again. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I'm fighting myself to do it. So my therapist is just like, well, just try it. Take the task off and do another one and see what happens. And it has improved drastically.
I am going to try that. That sounds amazing, because I don't think you're lying to yourself. You're not tricking yourself. There's no trickery involved. It's just knowing your brain is going to attach this word to shame, to guilt. Mm-hmm. So it's time to kind of move it down the list. It's really just an organized way of doing things. I think that's kind of brilliant. I'm going to do that, because it's true. I mean, I've been kind of, when it comes to tax season, you know, when you have the deadline coming and you're like, I got to do taxes, I got to do. And the more we verbalize it, the less chance it's going to be started. Right. Sometimes I just spontaneously go, I have time. I'm going to do the taxes right now. Yeah. And it's funny because George would be like, what? Like,
now it's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's usually 2 in the morning when I'm thinking, when I have my grand ideas, it's 2 in the morning. That's changing. But the fact that you're taking it off this list so that you stop feeling that shame. I love that. So we're going to dig more into like some of the stuff that you do to kind of to manage, you know, autism, and PDA being part of that, because PDA is not it's a symptom in a way, or it's a profile. It's not an actual diagnosis. It's a profile that might actually kind of prove that there's evidence there that you could be autistic. So that's something that it's a good sign. It's a very clear sign, and that's how I was able to get the diagnosis for my daughters. I really did say, you know, I feel there's PDA profile going on here, and I explained the behaviors that attach to that. And I think that's what's so compelling about this new profile. Like, why is it new? Right. You know, like the signs are in the behavior, right?
That's the problem. It's not. It's
newly regarded.
Here.
Yeah, here.
You know, talking about all of this stuff with my mom last night. Like, I look at my sister. My sister, you would tell her no as a child, and she would act like you were murdering her. Oh. It was screaming, and everything was just terrible. And I was the opposite. Complete opposite.
You were the obedient masker.
Yes. I mean, I had to because of the trauma that I grew up in.
Yeah.
But also, I internalized all of those things.
Which is almost more dangerous.
It is. As you get to be an adult. That's why PDA profiled women have a higher rate of burnout.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, let's go there then. I want to talk about this burnout, because you have experienced several versions of burnout.
Yes.
So why don't we start with the easy ones first?
The physical pain burnout? Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the physical burnout. Then let's talk about, and I kind of want to dig into that a little bit. Tell us about your experience on that. And then I want to also talk about your run-of-the-mill burnout, your generalized burnout, that one that most people could relate to. And then I want to dig deep into your autistic burnout, because they're all very vastly different. And I feel like this is something that's new for me. I just feel like burnout is burnout. But that's not the case.
No, it isn't.
So let's start with physical burnout.
Okay, physical burnout.
For you.
For me.
Okay.
It started to happen back in 2019. my husband was deployed, and I had my children for a whole year by myself. And we were in Niagara.
Wow.
And we chose to stay there
Yeah.
during that that deployment instead of being back here in Victoria because I was only 12 hours away from my parents.
Okay.
And my husband had come back for a vacation because we were going to go look at some land and possibly buy a home. And we got 20 minutes away from the house, and a woman ran into us on the highway
Oh my
going 70
gosh.
miles an hour.
Oh, while single parenting. I mean, I
Well,
cannot
he
imagine.
was with us
Oh,
at
he
this
was
point,
with you at
yes,
your point.
but he
Okay.
was only with us for 10 days.
Oh gosh.
So it was the first day into his vacation home.
Oh gosh, the
Yes.
timing is terrible.
And
I mean, in a way, it's good, but it's terrible.
well, with the accident, the impact was in the back, and then she ended up actually hitting us 3 times and causing us to hit the vehicle in front of us twice because her airbag went off and she was discombobulated
Yeah.
and kept on hitting the gas instead of the brake. But that caused a lot of injuries in me.
Okay.
And I, again, only had him home for 10 days, and then he was back. He had to fly back to Australia at that point.
He couldn't.
No.
Oh boy,
No,
that's so tough.
it was very tough. And I had to get a maid,
Mm.
which I felt shame in that
Oh
because
no.
I have these 4 kids. I should be
Yeah,
able
no
to clean the house.
choice,
I am a
please.
stay-at-home mom. I should, we have this idea of what a stay-at-home mom is. And
Yeah.
I grew up with the idea that it wasn't explicitly said, but it was made you to feel that you had to earn your keep.
Mm.
And I had to struggle with that mindset
Oh goodness.
while I was trying to heal up from this car accident.
Oh, that's
And
impossible.
it is, but it's also, I had to learn how to get the maid or use disposable dishes so that I didn't have a...
So you worked around it.
Right. And that's where it's different because I also have an excuse of saying I was just in a really bad car accident.
Right.
And it wasn't until we got out here, because that happened in May. We moved here in August, and getting the doctors and everything in here, and they're like, you should be using a cane.
Mm-hmm.
This is way worse than what you thought it was. And it took 2 years of rehabilitation to be able to walk without a cane.
Without a cane.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to get back to
remember you having
something
it.
normal. And then on
Mhm.
top of that, I started to get the really bad endometriosis. So there was a lot of physical things that were happening. And it's easier when you're in burnout because of that to go, I have an excuse of my physical body.
It's tangible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Doctors can document, oh, yes, this was sprained or this was broken or this is torn.
Right.
That's way different kind of burnout
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually tag on. Now, the guilt and shame's still there
Mhm.
because you still feel bad. You can't do the things that you wanted to do with your kids. If you're single parenting, or what we call in the military world solo parenting, because
Solo.
we have partners.
That's right.
Single moms and single dads have a totally different life
This is
than
true.
what we do.
Yep.
I have somebody who supports me monetarily.
Mm.
I have somebody who supports me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different
But from a distance, but it's
from a
still
distance.
the support, knowing that you can turn to that person, knowing that there is an end date to this solo parenting.
Yes.
I love that distinction.
Yes.
It's true. Because a lot of people go, I'm in my single parent mode today because husband's gone for a day or whatever.
Mhm.
But you're right, solo parenting. That's
Yeah.
a
We
very
can.
good distinction.
I don't like to take that away from single parents
Mhm,
because
mhm.
that is a road that I am blessed that I don't have to walk,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a hard one.
Yeah, I can. I don't know what I would do without a partner right now.
Mhm.
Like with the things I have to deal with my kids and myself and my own head. So it's the most beautiful thing, and we will get to that too about our partners playing a huge role
Yeah.
in with the healing of the burnout. Okay, so you have this physical burnout,
Mm-hmm.
and then it leads naturally to mental health burnout.
Oh yeah, the depression that happens with that
Yeah.
because you can't. I mean, I went
So the
through a
guilt and
very,
that.
very deep depression when it came
Yeah.
to it was the car accident, and then
Yeah.
I went right into having the endometriosis
Mm.
and PMD so severely,
Oh my gosh.
which of course both comorbidities
Yeah.
of autism,
Right.
that were so bad that I was bedridden for half of each month.
Mm.
again, they're physical things.
Mm-hmm.
So once I was starting to get relief from the car accident stuff, I had a surgery that
Yeah.
got rid of all of the ovaries and
internal, yeah.
everything that could be adding to the endometriosis.
Right.
Immediately, I was not depressed anymore. Immediately, things started to
Interesting.
change. My life was different. I didn't have pain. So
Because the pain itself.
right.
Yeah. That's an
So that
exhausting thing
kind
to
of
live with.
burnout is
Yeah.
totally different
Mm-hmm.
when you can get relief that actually lasts.
Okay.
Now, I have fibro, so fibro can sometimes throw me into soreness and make me stay in bed.
Right. Right.
But it's not like what happened then.
Okay. Okay.
Then, autistic burnout is a totally different thing.
Okay. Take us through that.
Do you know, like, when you feel like you've been so busy and you start to take a breath, and when you take a breath, you're really, really tired. You're physically tired.
Yeah.
And then your brain wants to run around in circles because you know you got a ton of things, but at the same time, you're so tired you have to sleep.
There's just no
And then it's not
choice.
restful sleep because
The anxiety that
it
comes
goes
with
into
it.
your dreams.
Yeah, it goes in your dreams. Right.
You're tossing and turning,
Yeah.
all of these things. Okay. Autistic burnout is kind of like that on a waking
Okay.
basis.
Oh my.
You are awake,
goodness.
but you are so exhausted and you are tired. And before my body started doing this wonderful thing where it feigns death
Yeah.
in the middle
Yeah.
of stress, and
Yeah.
I literally pass out.
You shut down and you literally and physically pass out.
Yes. My doctor thinks that it's like a really cool move. Like when you're like
Just fall
in the middle
asleep.
of an argument and you're just like, this is so
Check it out.
Yep, I'm done. But it is not a fun thing where you're just so exhausted and you can't think straight, and all of a sudden
You just fall asleep.
just fall asleep.
You're just done.
Not when I need to.
Yeah.
No. Not when I need
not
to.
in a good way.
Yeah.
It's kind of mid-conversation.
My eyes start to close. I'll be on the phone. It's a stressful conversation. My eyes are closing and I'm like, I can't talk to you anymore.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you just stop what you're doing. You're in the middle of doing something and you just kind of like, you start snoring. You just fall asleep.
It's stressful situations.
But it's okay. So you shut down with situations that you absolutely cannot handle at that moment.
My body says, nope, you cannot do this anymore.
Okay.
And so what happened was it started slow with me because, especially women, moms, we're like, we can handle this. We're used to being the people who, it doesn't matter if we're sick. It doesn't matter if we're stressed out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We carry everybody's load. I mean, our normal job is, taking care of them physically and co-regulating and making sure everybody emotionally knows that everybody's loved and everybody loves each other. And then we've also got the mental loads of doctor's appointments and all of these things that need to be done before the physical thing can be done.
Right.
I knew that I was starting to get tired. Like everything. And I just thought I was really stressed out because it was last December and we were going back to visit my parents, and I have a lot of things that I do in December.
Yes, you do.
A lot of events that I do.
That's where the community comes in.
According to my third child, we go hard for Christmas.
You actually really do.
And I hate Christmas.
Oh my God. That, I know, when you told me that, I'm like, is she lying? Or is this just a totally different, you do something in contrast, maybe because you hate it so much, you're like, I'm just going to like go hard.
My husband loves Christmas, and so do my children.
You do it for
yourself.
yourself.
So it's not for me.
Othering and you're
I'm
just,
othering.
You're
Exactly.
othering.
So I knew that I was tired.
Yeah.
And then went home for Christmas, came back, and I was even more exhausted because sometimes we need a vacation from the vacation that we were just on.
Oh, we know that vacation for moms aren't really vacation.
Right. But
unless you're going to mom's house.
sometimes.
Right? Sometimes.
Yeah. But we had a vacation planned at the end of January to go to the Bahamas with,
Right.
we do a 12-year-old trip for each of our kids.
I love that.
And he chose the Bahamas.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so we're going to I can relax in this. And maybe this is going to help. Which was fun. In the meantime, we had a lot of fun. It was nice and relaxing. And I came home sick.
Oh.
And then sickness hit our whole entire family, different types of sickness.
I
And
remember
at
this
one
too.
point, I had a child home for 22 days straight. And that wears on you.
Oh, 100%.
So, yes, you've got the physical
Especially when they're
element
sick,
there.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you're mental because you're worried about your kids.
Yeah.
You're doing all of these things. And then March came. And March was my tipping point because we found out some very traumatic things in our family. And my brain just said, you cannot do this anymore. I have been trying to do all of this stuff and try to keep everything together, and I couldn't. And there was a regression in skills, like to the point of I couldn't think of the right words to say. I still have a hard time making decisions, hence the spinny wheel. But even down to what I'm going to eat, all of these things. And I went to my doctor, and the depression was so bad.
Yeah.
Because of
Sounds,
the
very heavy.
trauma, the dramatic things that had been happening. But then also because being autistic and being ADHD, your rates of suicidal ideation skyrocket.
Yeah, 100%, yes.
So I already struggle with that.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, I can give you meds to help with the mood to make sure that you do not kill yourself in this process. But I cannot give you anything for the autistic burnout that's happening right now.
Interesting.
And he goes, what you need is real rest.
Just
and I'm like, but
rest.
I'm in my bedroom all day long because by this time, that's all I'm doing.
But your brain's not resting.
And that's what he said. He goes, if you are laying in bed and you are feeling guilty, if you have a running tab of the things that you need to
Which you do.
if you are listening to make sure that things are done correctly in your house, or if you're freaking out over your kids, are you really resting?
No. Absolutely not.
And I'm like looking at him like,
the load is still just
how
as
do
heavy.
I
You're
stop
just on
that?
you're just in this horizontal level, like kind of position.
And he was very honest with me. And he
Good.
said, if we had the facilities that we had in the 80s, I'd send you away for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
He goes, I need you to rest. And he goes, I wouldn't even mind if you had a ketamine drip, which is a disassociating drug.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to work on these things with your therapist because right now you do not feel worthy of healing. You do not feel worthy of rest, and you do not feel worthy of safety.
So the feeling of worthlessness.
Yes. And of course that goes way back to being a child.
Yeah.
But of course I'm crying my eyes out because here he is saying these very truthful things.
Yeah.
But me going, how am I going to get that?
Yeah.
I've been in therapy for 20 years. And I still have never felt safe in my own body. I've never felt safe a day in my life. How do I get to that point?
Talk to me about this feeling of safety.
That has been one of the hardest things for me.
Okay.
Because, again, childhood trauma.
Okay.
Never felt safe a day in my life. Autistic people, if they do not know how to self-regulate, they've never felt safe in their bodies. So like right now, my doctor, I am 43 years old, and I am going through a program called Safe and Sound.
Okay.
And it is a 5-hour program where you have headphones on.
Yep.
And you are listening to music filtered with a frequency that helps stimulate your vagal nerve.
Okay.
It was developed a long time ago to help autistic kids learn how to self-regulate, to feel calm in their bodies, and to feel safe. But then, of course, as years gone by, they've noticed it helps with people with PTSD, which I have, complex PTSD, which I have, and autistic adults who have never known how to do that.
Yeah.
We can't get to a place that we don't know how it feels.
Right.
And that was my problem. I'm like, I don't know what safety
this means.
how to get to safety if I don't know
Never
what it feels like.
it.
And so the first 2 hours are pretty easy.
Yeah.
You just put them on. The last 3 hours are apparently so intense that they're broken up into 30-minute segments.
You haven't
can
done this
only
yet?
do. I've just done the first 30 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm at 2.5 hours right now.
I'm going to have to follow up with you.
And it's so intense that it can only be done in 30-minute increments with weeks in between, and your doctor has to physically be in the room.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's what we're trying.
I've never heard of this. Can you say this again? It's the sound.
It's the Safe and Sound program.
Safe and Sound program.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And your doctor should be able to help you with that. I have an amazing doctor. He
sounds amazing.
Yes.
He's trying these alternative ways to support you. And I like how he said, listen, you need to talk to your for mental health purposes, you need to talk to your psychologist. Let's get things going. Your therapist. We need to talk as a team.
Yes.
He's like, okay, this is what I'm going to prescribe you. This is what no, it was like, we're going to do this kind of together.
But he's also a psychotherapist.
And
So he's a
perfect.
GP and a
Oh,
psychotherapist.
amazing.
So there are times that we just talk about those things.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that he
love
told
that.
me before I really got into this program was, you take care of everybody else and you're making sure everything is okay for everyone else. And I need you to know that when you are in this office with me, you are not taking care of me.
Oh, look at that.
You do not have to worry about the things that I think and I feel.
Mm-hmm. You just
So
have to
having
think of
that
you. Yeah.
permission
Yeah.
of you're not, I'm not saying things to make sure that you're feeling okay,
Yeah.
which is what we do all
All
the
the time.
I don't have to
It's
do that.
exhausting. So he gave you that safe space
Yes.
to just, it's about you.
Yes. That permission to say, you're not taking care of me in
Yeah.
this space.
Yeah.
This is about you.
Yeah. I love that. That sounds like a wonderful support system for you.
Yes.
I love that. And okay, so did you know that this was autistic burnout at the time, or like maybe this last time that you're talking? I mean, when it got really
I started
hard.
to notice because it was affecting me in ways that the regression of skills was the worst, where I couldn't make decisions. I couldn't speak like I would normally speak.
Yeah.
Marco Polo came in really handy for that because guess what? I don't want to type.
Yeah.
I cannot do it.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's an extra step of communication that,
Yes. And I had to learn to deal with things in a different way. And so this was not the regular burnout. And it was not going away.
Yeah.
It didn't matter that I had this new prescription. It didn't matter that I was in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot work your way out of autistic burnout.
Yeah, I heard it's significantly longer than, let's say, a generalized burnout, or you can't really say with a physical burnout because that's a whole other ball game. But comparing the two, the autistic burnout, it's longer, and then it also taps into the very things that autistic individuals are more sensitive to. So even like the fact that you lost your ability to kind of communicate the way you regularly do. Yep. The skills were lost because those are the skills that you had to work really hard to like hone into and develop.
Yes.
So those things were those are the first things that kind of suffered with your burnout.
Oh yeah. The decision making.
Oh my.
That was the hardest for me.
And you're great with making decisions.
Yes.
So this must have been a really blatant thing for the people around you.
I'm a Libra. So people are always like, you're wishy-washy, you've got to, and I'm like, I am not that way.
No.
I am not that way. And I have fought my whole entire life to be very decisive.
You are.
This is how we're doing it. And this is I have a plan for everything.
You're good for making decisions for people who can't make decisions for themselves.
I'm really good at that. But myself, I all of a sudden, I wasn't able to.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that scared me.
That must have freaked you out.
And I'm, again, used to making decisions for everybody else. So my family, all of these things, and I couldn't do any of it. And then there was, I'm going to let people down. I am, I do all of these things and I can't right now.
Yeah.
I was scared of the repercussions that were going to happen with that. And that's when I say this was totally different. And there wasn't any magical way of getting out of this except for rest. And when we say rest, we're not talking just physical rest, not just sleeping.
Yeah.
Because again, my body is faking death.
Mm-mm.
It's not just sleeping, even though that is really important. But it is taking demands off.
Yep.
My doctor flat out said, your husband has to take as many demands as he possibly can at this point. I mean, he called it out.
Yeah.
And that means I had to let go of those demands.
On him as well. And
well,
on yourself.
I had all of these control. That's part of my safety. When we don't feel safe, we hold on to control, that we have to do things right, because if we don't do them right, we're going to have to if somebody else does it wrong, we have to redo it. It is just another task on us.
That's been a problem for me always,
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I don't let it go,
yeah,
he can't take that demand off me, and I'm not going to get any better. I'm going to be stuck like this.
Right. You got to take that off yourself.
So I had to learn to trust, and he had to learn to build that trust.
Right. Right.
And it's getting around all of the things that you have normally put on your plate. And it wasn't until recently that I finally got it clear. And I know this sounds dumb because other people it's very easy, but it is not for me. My autistic brain, what we call in my house sticky brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I finally had to realize that there was nothing on my plate, that if I didn't do it,
the
world wasn't going to end.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to die.
Nothing's that.
I might have to pay a late fee.
Yeah.
I might have to.
You might have to have the consequences, yes.
Yes. But there is nothing on my plate that if I say, my body says, nope, you need to just sleep.
Yeah.
I don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But that's been very recent.
And that's not easy. I know.
No, and I told my doctor, and he was so excited. He goes, you are learning to give grace to yourself.
Oh, I love that. I love that because it's so easy to say give ourselves grace. But that is, you took it to the next level. That was very difficult for you.
Very.
I know it was, because I can't imagine for you, but just for me, it was personal experience. It's very, very difficult to just kind of let go fully. Really, not with one eye open, like truly let go. I mean, even with the very basics, with partners or kids, like letting them do it their way.
Yes.
For not just for their learning or for the responsibilities of the family and building that kind of like trust with one another. It's also because like to take it off me, that's really hard for many moms.
Yeah.
But when you're in the midst of burnout, I can't imagine like where's your mind going here. At this point, you're just trying to survive.
Yeah, that is what I'm doing. I literally try, and you're trying to find everything that you possibly can to do that.
Yeah.
I have learned to give myself a sensory diet, just like we do to our autistic kids.
Okay.
Where, you go to my house and I have every possible sensory thing.
You do.
That you can possibly imagine.
Oh, she's hooked up.
Yeah. But I never did that for myself.
Isn't that interesting?
So, like, you'll see me on those Marco Polos, and I have my hoodie completely surrounding my face, or I have noise-canceling headphones on. I have learned to, we have a vibration plate to let myself be on that, to fidget and to stem.
Yeah.
Which I have never allowed myself to be because I've had to keep myself together.
Like let it out of your body.
Yeah.
Move. Yeah, I love that.
And I have not ever allowed myself to because you look, and I'm saying this in quotation marks for those people who cannot see it. You look stupid doing those things. That's what was told. That's not by parents, but by people.
Yeah, people.
The people that you are friends with, all of those things. And friends again.
Yeah.
So PDA profile, all of those demands that say, oh, you need to do these things. Like my little one right now has been doing this. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy until I started doing it. I'm like,
I like
that
that.
kind of feels good. I see why he does that.
Yeah.
We've never allowed ourselves to do that. So part of the getting out of burnout is allowing yourself to be authentically autistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
a big
hard.
One. Yeah.
And especially when you don't know what's masking and what's not.
Oh, that's so complicated.
So what is your true who you are, and what are the things that you've been told you have to hide?
So interesting.
And, we've talked about in the past shadow work and things like that, and doing things to get to know the parts of you that have been hidden.
Okay, let's dive deep with shadow work. I love this concept because I think this is key.
Yeah.
For healing for anyone really, but shadow work specifically is great for anyone with autism. High masking. Okay, so what is it? Tell us more about shadow work.
Okay, so shadow work was developed by Jung. He's got all of these archetypical spots in our brain, the personalities that we are. Shadow is the part of us that has been pushed back. It's often talked about being in a bag, that all of these things that you've been told are wrong, disgusting, bad, by society, by your parents, by your friends, and you've shoved them into a bag.
By yourself.
Yes.
All of it. Yeah.
So they're all back there.
Right.
Subconsciously. And it'll all make its way out because it wants to be seen. And I have learned in my studying with shadow work that for a high masking autistic individual, Integrating your shadow literally is autistic unmasking,
Wow.
because we started to mask because somebody said we weren't supposed to be that.
Oh,
We were the
so
little girl who
sad.
talked too much.
There's so much
We
sadness to
were
that.
the kid who fidgeted too much.
Yeah.
We info dumped too much. We
Mm.
studied the wrong things because, that's not cool to study dinosaurs. It's all of the things that you have been told are wrong. Some, of course, need to stay in that shadow. We
sure.
should not be hurting people. We should not be
Yeah,
stealing things, all of those
totally.
things.
Yeah.
Um,
But the
there's-
harmless stuff.
But there are so many things that have been told to especially autistic people, which have caused trauma, that we were told that we weren't allowed to do these things.
Yeah. Oh.
And especially when it came to expressing emotion or
Yeah.
feeling emotion.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things when it comes to adult autistic people,
Yeah.
is we don't know how to feel our emotions in our body.
We don't know how to feel
Our emotions,
in our body.
There's that stereotypical person of, oh, yeah, they're autistic, they're robots.
Oh, my goodness.
They don't know how to express their emotions.
That's what people think. Yes. Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah.
We actually feel a flood of emotions.
That's the
that we
issue.
don't
That's
know.
yes.
We don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Because when we were younger, a lot of times we felt those emotions in our bodies, but it did weird things.
Yeah.
And then we were taught that wasn't right.
Yeah. That in itself, the feeling and the expression of it was stopped.
Yes.
Full tilt, quickly.
So we weren't allowed to feel
You
those.
couldn't do
If we were going to get in trouble, or people were going to think bad of us, or
Yeah.
we weren't going to have friends, or any of those
Yeah.
things that
Yeah.
were put on us.
Oh, it's
And
exhausting.
so then we get to be adults, and then we don't know
Yeah.
what we're feeling, or how we're feeling, or how to express those feelings. We get the mom rage. We shut down completely.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then we teach other people that that's an acceptable way to act too, because those happen to go right onto our kids as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So as an adult, learning how to feel your emotions. in
It
a
sounds so
proper
simple,
way.
but it's so
It is not.
complicated, especially when this is a lifetime of not
Yes.
expressing those or feeling those deep emotions.
Yeah.
Not knowing, and if you did, you couldn't correlate between the two. And so it's very interesting when I think of my daughter. So once she got her diagnosis, which was very, very recent, it was like the floodgates opened.
Yeah.
And not just for us. I thought this was all for us. Once she knew, and I'm only saying that because she didn't seem to care. Like, it's like, what's wrong with it? Of course, she's little, right? All these years, she's young. And she's, at this point, she just wants, the stuff in front of her and read her books and eat her food and watch her shows. It's not about the expression of, I need to know who I am. It's the permission, like you
Yep.
said. So once she knew that she had autism, and I never even said, these are the things, these are the signs of, for some reason, knowing there was a label, like people call it the label, and people are so afraid of labels, but
Mhm.
knowing what it was, all of a sudden, the stimming started.
Yep.
And no one corrected it. No one looked at it a certain way. I mean, we've changed communities. Like, we have, like, places we go regularly, and we've had to, quiet her down. And I realized that in itself was so damaging. So we actually uprooted ourselves in certain communities and events and people and friends and groups, because we want her to be unapologetically herself.
Yep.
At all times, if it's noisy and clicking and clapping and blah, blah, blah. So I actually put her in some camps, and she kind of did this motion.
Mm-hmm.
She was excited.
Yep.
And then it's the same motion when she's frustrated too. But you can kind of go with her. Actually, you can't really go with her face. It's really just the motions. And, a child just went up to her and said, like, you're weird. Stop that.
Yep.
She did it again, thinking, you're not talking to me. You can't be talking to me, right? Because this is welcomed at home, especially now that we know more.
Yep.
And we have been taught very humbly that this is not wrong. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't stop it in the past. Not stimming per se, but like other things that were probably like symptoms of autism, but I would stop it, or just like how you said, maybe pushing it back for her, helping her put, or inspiring her to push it back herself, or me doing the same thing. Anyway, she was not used to this, and she kept going, and that's when the kid just went off on her.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of her because she allowed herself to express the emotion that came with that embarrassment and feeling of shame.
Mm-hmm.
She started to cry, but she put her glasses on and she stood still. And then she cried. And it just hurts my heart. But she advocated for herself and told the counselor, the coach, I want to talk to my mom. So I immediately, because I'm a bit of a hover, as you know. And I was so close. I was actually here at the time. And I quickly drove to the camp. And I thought she wanted to be picked up. So I was ready for that. And she just wanted to tell me that she was just doing her movements. She calls it movements.
Yeah.
And this girl was really mean. There was two of them, and they just said this to her. And then I said, so what would you like to do right now? What would you like? Would you like to come home? What would make you feel safe? And she goes, well, it's already the end of the day, so I can come. I just wanted you to know. And I go, would you like me to tell your coach? Because my immediate thing was either don't go there again, shut down, don't tell the coach, or tell the coach hesitantly, because I hate confrontation. That's just me. And she says, I want you to tell her. I said, you do? Okay. And she had one more day of this camp too. So I was like, no problem. And it could actually be worth it or not worth it. But she asked me to do this, and she had the gusto and the gumption to want to do this, which is not really something she does. And we went ahead and told the coach. And it turns out this girl does this, plenty of times for other people, and she probably has her own struggles. It's not about this kid. This is still a child. So I was proud of myself for talking to the coach about this and saying, like, this just can't happen, because I had said this is the kind of support that she needs. But they were in a bus at the time. Yeah. What could we do, right? And so I really appreciated that she immediately talked to the parent. And so that's how we're learning. That's how, but I loved that she was able to express that. Mm-hmm. And no, there's nothing wrong with movements, even if someone physically tells you, yes, that's wrong, you're weird, stop.
Yes. Now, looking back at the child who said, you're wrong, it's weird. I can guarantee that there have been times in that child's life that she did something that somebody said that was wrong. A lot of times when we're looking at like the shadow work portions, we'll know that those things they annoy us because they're parts of us that we have not been able to express or integrate into our own lives. So that freedom that your daughter got in doing that, that other child didn't have.
Oh, it's true. Hurt people hurt people.
It is. And a lot of times we're bugged by by things that other people do because we never had that freedom to do that.
Yeah.
Whether there was shame attached to it, guilt, we got in trouble because we had to act a certain way.
Yeah.
And we'll be bugged by it, by somebody else.
Yeah.
And your daughter finding that freedom, freedom is very insulting to people who don't have it.
You're right.
It is.
Yeah.
And the freedom that comes with labels, I will advocate every stinking day of my life.
You do. Yes.
That you fight for those. Yeah. If you think that there's something going on with your child, you listen to your gut, because guess what? You're normally right.
Yeah.
And then you fight for it.
Yeah. 100%.
Because I grew up not knowing what was wrong with me, and it was a character flaw to me, so that there was something really wrong. Those were things I had to change about myself, because it makes you unlovable. It makes you unworthy. It makes you all of those things. And a simple label, as much as you think it's going to destroy their life, will actually help them
100%
gain freedom and permission to be themselves.
I love that so much. And I'm living that. I'm seeing that.
Because when it's not, you end up as an adult with this.
Yeah. That's true. So many people are so afraid of the labels because they're afraid that it will limit them. But in actuality, it unlocks something with not just the person itself, the child, but their family, and then their friends and the people around them. I have so many friends who say they really appreciate when I tell them. I give them a little bit of a preface because I always had this worry. Like, I don't want to excuse things. Oh, well, she's got autism. I don't want to do that. And that I don't do that. But I sometimes preface things.
Yeah.
I'll say, just so you know, you might get a stoic kind of like a flat affect as far as, but she really enjoys being here. Or, and they always say, and that's just one of the many examples, and I do it very like sparingly, but enough to give them the knowledge. And they say to me, my neurotypical friends, a lot of them say, thanks for letting me know because I wouldn't have otherwise known.
Yeah.
And so even going back to that camp thing, the first thing I did was I used my online platform, and I like to think I have some influence, and I put there the story, the true story, because we never put the uglies in there. Like, we put so much of the good stuff. And then I didn't want to air my dirty laundry, but this is not dirty laundry. This is education.
Yeah.
Coming from a mom who is going to now admit to you that my child has special needs, and I didn't admit that for a long while. Out of respect for her, but I actually asked her, are you okay with me telling people you have autism? Are you okay with me sharing this diagnosis, I didn't want to make it sound like you have a choice, you can hush, or no, I just said, how do you feel about that? She's like, yeah, because it's who she is.
Yes.
It's who she is.
Yes, and because you've given her that freedom at home,
Yes.
she can now go in and make relationships based on who she is.
And that is happening as we speak. She has found her people.
Yes, and that is what's important. We talk about how important our people are, but I am huge on support in the community.
Yeah.
Being who you are and having the permission to be who you are is what creates your support circle. If somebody does not know that I struggle with certain things, how are they going to support me in that?
100%.
And if they can't,
and how are they going to understand you or know you if they don't know that aspect of you?
Let's look at Marco Polo.
Yeah.
You introduced me to Marco Polo, and
I love that.
Yes, and you did it because physically it was hard for you
to type.
To type all of the, when we're going into hour-long sessions of Marco Polo, of course you couldn't type all that out.
No.
But I realized that typing was something that, like, I would type something out and I would reread it like 1,000 times to make sure that it would say what I needed it to say without hurting anybody because I know tone.
Yeah.
But then when I asked my friends and said, hey, I have a hard time texting. There's this app that we can get that I can look at your face and I can see you.
Yeah.
I can tell you that my real friends got that app.
Oh, I love that because they were, would you call it accommodating, or were they like, let's try this out? They were curious.
They were accommodating. Let's just use the word. They were
accommodating.
accommodating to me. And trust me, it was a learned process with some of them of going, I don't like looking at my face. I don't like this sort of thing.
Oh my gosh, I had the same reaction. Yeah.
And
with friends.
the people who cared about me, who understood, hey, she's having a difficult time in this.
Yeah.
They uploaded the app.
Oh, I love
and we
that.
used the app.
And they love it themselves. It's like,
oh yeah, now they're like, oh yeah, I talked to this and this person, and I'm like, see,
it's a verb now.
But it took somebody knowing my struggles.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people do. Again, I have a lot of people that I'm their support.
Yes.
But I don't have a lot of support because I have my core people that know who I am, what I'm really struggling with.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
We're learning that that's okay to have a small, intimate group of core people.
And I had to, when you're a teenager, your thought, oh, I've got to be popular and this is what's expected. And of course, in my house, it is not expected. I've had to warn my kids, when you go into other people's houses, their houses are not like our houses. But as an adult who didn't know, I had to learn that. I had to learn that there are people who do actually love me and care about me.
100%.
And it is our spouses, of course, our partners that need to help do that. They take those demands. But we also have to trust our close-knit friends
Mm-hmm.
of saying, hey, I'm going to take your kids for a day. It's okay. I can take your kids.
She's looking at me again. I trust you implicitly,
Oh,
but
I know, but
it takes organization for
but
me
you
to bring them to
also
your house.
you also don't ever want to be a burden on anybody.
I know, that's...
But you know what? We have to learn that with those core people, that we're not a burden, that they actually love us.
Yeah.
Now, we may be a burden to some people,
Yeah, sure.
and
That
that's
could be
okay.
my past traumas too, is like knowing that it maybe happened once. Someone gave me this look.
Yeah, the
like,
wrong person. You put
wrong
yourself in
person.
the wrong circle there,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh, you weren't in the
Yeah.
right circle layer
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But learning that you are not a burden to those people.
Yeah.
I had to look at my husband and you know, this is here now. He's cleaning everything. He's taking care of all the kids. He's making all of the food. He's doing all of these things.
Beautiful.
And going, I'm so sorry. And he goes, hey, our vows were in sickness and in health.
Oh, I love that.
And this, you wouldn't be acting like this so much if you had a physical thing. If you have cancer,
That's exactly
you
it.
wouldn't be acting
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
But this is a different thing. You can't
Mhm.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't excuse it.
Right.
And then I had to believe him when he
Yeah.
says that I'm not a burden to him
Oh,
and that it's okay that he brings the food up to my room.
what a beautiful, beautiful partnership, a beautiful communication that you have, that you're able to say, this is what my needs are. I said this in a previous episode talking to someone here, and he was a gentleman. We talked about with partnership, and you were the one who introduced it to me. I talked about you in this episode, and we were talking about how the kind of the percentages of what we need you to be today. Like most days, ideally 50-50, and a lot of times for the mama, like it's kind of 80-20. Come on, let's keep it real, because a lot of times, not always, but the partner who's out of the house, it like working, is not doing as much of the kind of like the kids stuff, the appointments, the mind, the mental load and all that, in addition to the childcare, and then the food and the decisions and all those things that are seemingly on the surface and unimportant, like just like basic stuff, but added together is a lot, and that gives you that 80% load. And then you say sometimes you're like, listen, I'm feeling very, very 40% today, and could you just carry the 60%? And like, I think this is such a good way to, like, when you're in the midst of burnout, if you're 10% and you need them to be 90%, what a beautiful partnership, because you can be honest. And some people are number people. I'm a numbers people. I'm a numbers person. And to be able to visualize, like, I really am at this point, I need you to step up. Well, how much? 90%.
The only problem with being a numbers person like that is that you don't get into the tit for tat thing of saying, I've done this, I did this and this and this and this, or you've done this and this and this and this, and now I owe you.
Yeah. No.
And that's a problem that
That's
we
dangerous.
can get into
When you calculate.
Yes,
Yeah.
when you have calculations like that, because that brings on even more shame and guilt, especially if you're in burnout and it's for an extended amount of time.
Right.
Because
oh yeah, that could be like 10%, 90% for like 8 months. Like, are you going to be calculating
we're talking
that? Yeah.
years sometimes. And sometimes there is no paying back.
Yeah. And I think in this case, it's more of just like being able to say, this is my energy level. It's not really like, can you do more?
Yeah.
It's more of like, this is how much I can give today.
Yeah.
This is the limited amount for the year, or whatever that time is.
Well, no, somebody said, and I saw it on TikTok, and it blew my mind. This woman said, if you only have 10%, that's your 100%.
Exactly. I love that.
And I was
That's
like, what?
all I can think.
What?
This is what it is.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. This is all I can give.
Yeah.
And it's being able to trust those around you to pick up the rest.
Yeah.
And fully trust them.
Fully trust. And that's working in
Yep.
and of itself. Well, I think this is the perfect way to kind of tie things up. I do like to recap. I feel like there's just so much that we uncovered and tapped into today. I mean, I learned so much myself, but also not just about you, but about my daughter, about myself as a mom. And So
Yeah,
I'm
because
really
that's the biggest
grateful.
part. You're always looking at other people too.
The other.
You're othering your daughter completely.
Oh, yeah. I spent my
And
entire
I'm like,
13
Deb, you
years.
need to look at yourself. You
Yeah.
need to help yourself
Yeah.
here
That's a
because
tough
we
one.
can't. That we're giving out of empty cups,
Yeah,
man.
100%. And I think that whole again is a visual thing. It's like pouring from an empty cup, and now it's just dry. Now everybody's cup's empty because I'm like literally pouring from an empty cup. And when I hit my level of burnout, that was where all the things that I knew I had to change, as far as like accepting help, being honest with myself, resting, all those things had to happen. They were forced on me. And sadly, that's how it had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that it eventually did, where, and I'm still working on it.
You come out a different person
You really do.
because you've had to make decisions.
Yeah.
Your relationship can be better.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because now you've learned how to trust your husband. Now,
Oh,
guess what? When you
100%.
come out of this burnout,
Yeah.
it's not back to being you having the whole entire mental load. It's, he knows how to do it this time.
Oh, yeah. Or the
I don't
kids
have to
too.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Or the kids can step up, or I can trust these people.
Yeah.
Your relationships are different because
Yeah.
you've developed them.
Mm-hmm.
Your relationship with yourself is different because now you're learning to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
And
love that.
having boundaries with other people and with yourself.
Boundaries is a huge one.
Yes.
Delegation and boundaries and building your team, your medical team, like you said.
Medical team is
right?
huge, and your community.
Your support team, your community.
And trusting them, and then advocating when you need help, learning your own needs and being able to say them.
Yeah.
And then those people who are your people will step up and give you what you need.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then they're not your people.
Then you're not your people.
No, if I'm telling you I need Pepto-Bismol and you're giving me a bottle of water, and I'm like, but that's not what I need. You think I need that, but I don't need that.
Right.
They're not your people.
Yeah. Exactly.
They can't help you. And this is,
And that's okay too.
yeah, and that is
You can-
okay.
yeah, you can
That doesn't mean you
weed
have
out-
to,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that they have to stop being your friends. It's
No.
just they're not that inner circle that's going to be that
Yeah.
support system, and that's okay.
So being able to like say, okay, this is like to distinguish between your inner circle friends,
Yeah.
your outer circle
Yes.
friends, still maintain friendships, but knowing who your core are.
Yes.
I love that because, I came on here with you thinking, let's talk about community and how important it is to build community within the context of autistic burnout. But I think more like that's a part of it.
Mhm.
And then you just naturally, lean in towards that village. And it's
Always.
possibly a small one. And that village could be a couple friends and your family.
It's normally that.
Yeah.
Now there's a guy that he talks about the circles of friends, and he believes that you have the capacity of 150 people. But that's not your inner circle.
That sounds
Your inner
exhausting.
circle, your inner circle is normally at most 5, and sometimes that involves family, and it also involves pets.
Oh, yeah. Please.
So
Yes.
but those are people that and
That's the
things that you
support,
are
safety. Yes.
safety,
Yeah.
and that are there solidly there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, and when you're with them, they're not draining you, because remember, you only have a certain amount of energy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I can be with you, and I can be with my best friend, and I'm okay. But then I get with other people, and I'm like, I need to now take a break for 5 days.
Interesting, hey? Look at
Those
that.
those
That's
people,
when you know.
yeah, those
Yeah.
people are going to be there to support you, and they can
Yeah.
see you're ugly,
Yeah.
and they still love you.
And it doesn't take words. Sometimes it's just being there, knowing that you can call them, put your hoodie on and be yourself.
Yeah.
Now put your face on. Like, it's true. Being able to see your uglies, the inside, the moments, the sad times, the times that you normally would feel shame
Mhm.
to admit,
Yeah.
and then also externally, like I've been able to be myself
Mhm.
a lot of time where I'm just like, I don't feel like getting dressed today. I don't feel like being cute today, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
You're okay with that. Okay, you're my people. Let's just hang out in our
Yeah.
slippers and
And it's
eat
giving you
bonbons,
that
like, if you have to.
permission to be yourself,
I love
authentically
that.
yourself. And when you're going through trying to get out of burnout, and you
Yeah.
are learning how to authentically become autistic, or
Yeah.
whoever you are,
Yeah.
those are the people that you get to practice on,
Oh, I love that.
because it's too scary to go out into the real world and say, like,
Well,
your
we
daughter
tried
was
that.
like amazing and was able to do that. We've built up years of fear.
Yeah.
Those are your people that you're like, okay, guys,
This is me.
this
Let's-
is me.
This is
I'm
us.
going,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be doing some weird things, and I know that you're still going to love me,
Mm-hmm.
because as long as burnout can be,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's temporary.
It's temporary.
And you come out of it a different person.
Oh, that's so true. It's temporary. You come out of it a different person.
You have to, or else you don't come out of it.
Yeah. And you did all the right things, leaning into your village and, learning from that moment. It just, otherwise you don't survive if you don't have your community. You don't survive if you can't be yourself unapologetically. I love that so much. We could go on forever. So I need to end this here only because I would like everyone to get more from you. So where could they find you?
I can have sessions set up from my website, which is sacredadvantage.net.
Okay.
And you can email me. There's tons of different ways of having spiritual counseling, which, we have therapy,
Yep.
which I am an advocate for.
Yes.
But you are body, spirit, and mind. And when anything is off balance, all of it's off balance.
Right. 100%.
And even if your belief systems aren't exactly what everybody else believes,
You work with that. You
Yes.
work around that. Yeah.
currently getting
true.
my PhD in metaphysical sciences, so it's all broad.
Brilliant.
Yes, because even though I grew up in the Christian world, I don't believe everything that I
Yeah.
was taught.
Mhm.
And as I said earlier, I miss those connections and some of those things. One of the things that we got in the church were spiritual counseling. You could go to your pastor and say, "I'm having a hard time with this,
I want some special
and I need some help," or "I'm getting married and I need premarital counseling." Things like that you wouldn't normally get outside of a church.
Okay.
That is what I have.
So that's good to understand exactly what you do.
Yes.
So do you have any social media handles that they can find you on easily as well? Or are we working on that?
We're building those right now.
So let's start off with your website, and
Yeah.
and
they'll have all of the links on the website too that
Yes.
you could go to find me and all.
It'll
of the
be
other
she'll
stuff.
make herself very easy to find.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. I'm so grateful to you for being vulnerable, being honest with us, giving us the real deal. Not everyone knows about autistic burnout. I personally learned it 100% from you. I never heard of it before.
You see me in my ugly.
I'm kind of her guinea pig. I'm like, oh, what's this going on here with her red hoodie and her cute flushed cheeks? You look adorable, by
in
the
bed,
way.
the blanket over. I'm
That's-
still in
that's
bed.
the
I haven't
scene
done
I have.
anything.
But yeah, getting that kind of first-hand knowledge and experience is so deep for me. It's so profound because I am a better mom for it, and I am so grateful to you. Well, I'm not supposed to be crying at the end here. I'm supposed to be happy. Okay, here we go. We're good. I'm going to just say here to our burnt out besties here, especially artistic community, you're going to experience burnout. It's just inevitable.
Yep.
We're human. So, and those who are caregiving for those who have autism, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's really just important to equip ourselves with knowledge and taking moments like this where we get firsthand knowledge from someone who knows, who's lived it, but mostly just know that you're not alone.
No.
You're not alone. We actually do see you, physically see you. We hear you. You are not alone.
Yeah.
So lean into your village, lean into your community, lean on to your family and the few quality relationships that you have.
Yeah.
Lean into them. And while you, caregivers out there, continue to show up for your, continue othering, I guess.
Yeah.
Continue showing up for others, continue to show up for yourself as well. Go get that Sass, and we'll see you at the next episode of Sass and Small Talk. Bye.
Bye.
Whoa. I love you.
Oh, I love you.
I need my Sass back.
Signing off. See ya, guys. Bye. Signing off. See ya. Bye.